What's up, you guys? So today we are going to be making a giant cupcake, and not just your regular old giant cupcake, but we're gonna make a giant explosion cupcake. And you might be wondering why we're gonna make an explosion cupcake and also a giant explosion cupcake, because normally around here we just kind of make your typical cupcakes, but I am obsessed with explosion cakes. I think they're so cool, and while I have made piñata style cupcakes in the past, they just don't have that fun, exciting explosion factor that a regular explosion cake has. So what is my solution to this problem? Getting a giant cupcake mold and using that instead, which is basically just a regular old cake shaped like a cupcake, but we're gonna pretend like it's a cupcake, it's an explosion cupcake. And since we are fast approaching April and Easter, I figured why not make this an Easter themed explosion giant cupcake. Yeah, there's a lot of words there. So we're actually going to shape this cupcake like a carrot. We're gonna have the fun little sprigs of green leaves coming out of the top. It's gonna have Easter jelly beans in the middle, because what other candy other than a Reese's egg do you think when you think Easter? It's jelly beans. We can't put Reese's eggs in the middle because they won't have the same explosion effect, which is why we want jelly beans. So let's just get into these giant explosion cupcakes. All right, so I've already made the cake batter off camera because I just used a regular old box cakes mix. Boxed cake mix. We're not doing anything exciting with the cake itself because I feel like the explosion in the middle of the cupcake is excitement enough. You don't really need to do any crazy flavors. Of course you could if you really wanted to, but anyways, I have already coated the inside of our mold with some nonstick cooking spray. Even though it's like that silicone material, it shouldn't stick, I don't trust it. So I just got this mold off of Amazon, and I will put a link to it in the description if you're curious, you want to buy it. It also came with this top piece, and I still am not 100% sure how it works or how to use it. I think it's the intention of it is to like put it on top and use it to have like create your own cavity so that you can fill it with things, but we're gonna just make our own cavity for it. So all I'm going to do is just fill up the batter. So I've been watching different videos on this because I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to a giant cupcake. So from what I read, you want to fill it up about 3/4 of the way full, and then I also put it on the baking sheet just so it's easier to take in and out of the oven. The oven is set to 350, and another thing that I heard was that the top is going to cook a little bit faster, so you want to check it earlier than the bottom piece, which makes sense. So let's fill these up 3/4 of the way full and toss them in the oven. Okay, you guys, so I actually ran out of batter before I got fully to 3/4 of the way. I'm more about like halfway, but that's okay. It's not a huge deal. We're not making like a super huge cake anyway, but if you want to make sure that it's filled to the right amount, you might want to double the box cake mix, but then you're probably gonna have some leftover batter as well. So, you know, just weigh your pros and cons, whatever you want. I'm gonna go take this into the oven because it's gonna need to bake for 45 to 50 minutes, which is a long time. So in the meantime, we will create our chocolate leaves? Green things? What do you call it? The green stuff that comes out of the top of the carrot, whatever they are. We're gonna make those out of chocolate, and then we're also gonna make our buttercream. So into the oven we go. All right, you guys, so I've already melted the chocolate in the microwave. I just did a whole bar of white chocolate. So now I'm just gonna try to dye this green. I've never dyed chocolate before, so here's to hoping that it all works out how I hope. But I want it to be green so that our little leaves have the right color that they are supposed to have. All right, I'm pretty satisfied with that. So I have a piping bag here. I'm gonna fill it with the chocolate, and I'm just using a regular piping tip, nothing fancy, it's just round at the end so that we can pipe out the shapes that we are going for. Now I don't know how this will turn out because I've never tried piping chocolate before, so I don't know how easy it is. I'm guessing it's not super easy, otherwise everybody would be doing it, but we're gonna go for it and see how it turns out for us. Hopefully it doesn't start just dripping out. Something to be concerned about. I feel like I should have got a spoon. Yeah, we're already dripping. So I'm just gonna go over here, try to create the shapes that we are looking for. This is gonna be challenging. So I just kind of want to make little like, oops, and just make a couple of those kinds of shapes. I wish it was coming out straighter. Maybe I should just use my knife. These are not turning out how I hoped. Maybe we can coax it into the shape without making it too thin because we don't want them to break. And the whole idea behind this is just to make it look a little bit more like a carrot. These aren't quite as elegant as I had hoped they would be. So now we need to let these dry, and then we're gonna start on the buttercream. Okay, you guys, we're gonna get started on the frosting. I just pulled the giant cupcake out of the oven, but it's gonna need like half an hour to cool. So we're gonna get started on this frosting, and I'm trying a new recipe this time because last week when I did those not the pot of gold cupcakes, when I did the grocery store St. Patrick's Day cupcakes, I actually really liked the frosting that was on top. It was very light, kind of almost like a whipped cream, like just very light and soft. It wasn't like a lot of sugar hitting you at once, which I'm kind of noticing as I get older. I don't want as much of like a super intense sugar flavor and things. Like I kind of want a more subtle flavor. So I did some research. I found this recipe. I'll put a link to it in the description if you guys want to try it out. But it does not use any butter, and it only uses 1/3 of a cup of powdered sugar, but you put a packet of white chocolate pudding into your cupcake. Now, the reason we got a little bit delayed here was because I was reading over the recipe, and the very first thing it says is that you should chill your metal bowl for at least an hour for best results. This is why you read your recipes in advance of you wanting to make the recipe. You would think by now I would have learned my lesson, but nope. I just look at the ingredients until I'm ready to actually bake, and then I finally read the instructions. I'm gonna talk you guys through what I'm doing here, but I just wanna get into this frosting. I keep wanting to call it our buttercream, but it's not a buttercream. There's literally no butter in this recipe, which I'm kind of excited about. Okay, so I'm gonna be using my whisk attachment this time, and the recipe says that you just want to pour in your heavy cream. It's 2 cups of heavy cream. A lot of heavy cream that's cold, make sure it's cold. And then you're just going to whip that until you start to get stiff peaks out of it. All right, as you guys can see, we're starting to get some stiff peaks. So now we're gonna add in our 1/3 cup of powdered sugar. I didn't sift it this time because I was feeling kind of lazy. But we're gonna mix this again on a medium speed until the powdered sugar, we start to get more peaks again. I'm just gonna add in the pudding because according to the instructions, it'll set very quickly once the pudding is added. So I'm just going to add in our chocolate pudding, and the instructions also say to make sure you mix it on the low setting. We don't want to go too fast once we add the pudding because the pudding will start to set fairly quickly. We're back at it. Okay, so I decided to stop it there because it felt like it was getting pretty thick. This is a pretty good consistency, I would say. It's a bit soft, but knowing, pudding is just gonna keep firming up. Taste test, that's pretty delicious. You guys, I think this is my new favorite frosting recipe. It has like the consistency of whipped cream, and it's a light flavor. It's not an overpowering sweet flavor, but it still is so good, so delicious, and like whipped cream, guys. I'm going to dye this frosting orange because it's a carrot. It should be orange. But I don't have orange frosting dye, so I'm gonna take red, I'm gonna take yellow. I'm gonna try to make us a orange cupcake dye, and you guys know my track record when it comes to dyeing things. So here's to hoping for the best. All right, you guys, our cakes are finally cool enough to take out of their containers. This one's actually still a little bit warm on the bottom, but I think it'll be okay. I actually was getting a bit impatient, so I threw them into the refrigerator. But now we have our moment of truth, which is taking these out of the mold, and I guess we're just gonna have to go for it. And hopefully it'll come out pretty clean. And then this guy, which I'm more worried about. I'm just trying to like loosen it on the sides and then peel it. Is that like the best method? I actually think this turned out super cute. So here's my debate. because my initial thought was that, you know, the carrot would kind of only be half. Like it would almost feel like it was sticking out of dirt. Now, if I was planning this better, what I would have done is I would have taken a sheet cake and I would have made it look like a pile of dirt with some crushed up Oreos. And then I would have stuck our carrot on top and had it sticking out so it looks like it still is kind of in the dirt. But I did not plan that far in advance. So our carrot is only going to be like a half carrot and that's all it's going to be. But my question is this rounded top enough for our carrot shape? I wish it was a little bit longer. I almost wish I would have just put all of the batter in this one. Or should we take a little bit of the top and put some of this top on the top? Do we need that? Do we not need that? That is kind of my debate, because I feel like honestly this kind of the carrot shape, and unless we have the greens coming out of it, we have it colored orange, it'll look okay. But also this is pretty short and we want to have a good amount of our jelly beans in the middle so that our explosion is explosive. I'm gonna kind of carve around these, kind of carve off some of this caramelization. Who is it that I watch? I want to say it's the icing artist who always says it's not burnt, it's caramelization. But you of course kind of want to cut that off. So I'm gonna kind of cut around this, give it more of the shape that we want and see what to do with it from there. So obviously this is not very round anymore. We can round it out with our frosting. So this is more of like the shape I was kind of hoping for. Obviously I did a really bad job of like making it even, but it goes down and around the sides like a cake would. Now, my concern is that if we only use this top, then essentially we would have 3 layers and this would be it. So we would have one really short layer, we'd have the layer in between which would have the gap in the middle, and then we just have this one on the top, which isn't necessarily bad. It's just a matter of, is it enough? And then our bottom's a little bit crusty. So I'm also just gonna scrape that off, pretend like nothing happened. Because in an ideal world, I would cut it here and that would be like a good sized layer. And if I cut it into thirds, is that gonna be too thin? Is it gonna just crumble apart? I guess we just need to go for it. It's not quite even. Wow, I need to work on my cutting skills, but we would still have our layers like so. But this middle one, I think is the one that we're gonna cut the center out of. We'll put frosting in between all of them and then that should be okay, I think. And then we always have this top if we feel like we need more. So I'm just gonna set that to the side and I'm gonna grab a cup so that we can actually cut out this layer right here, this middle layer. We wanna create our hole so that we have our space for our jelly beans. Okay, so I'm actually just gonna use this tiny little mason jar to cut out our circle because I don't actually have any cookie cutters. Oh goodness, now I have no way of getting it out. So I'm gonna put the frosting in a piping bag and start assembling this. Okay, so I'm using my large piping bag with my large circular piping tip. And I didn't show you guys me finishing off the frosting because dyeing your frosting is kind of exhausting. Like I feel like I see other people do it and I'm like, yeah, it's simple, it's easy. It takes me forever and my arm is always killing me. I got a good enough orangey kind of a color. So normally when you're like baking a cake, if you're baking it to like give away for somebody, you have those like bottoms. They're like a cardboard bottom, but I was not thinking in advance. So I don't have one of those. And I just bought this beautiful marble turntable off of Amazon, which I think was so worth it. We're not gonna put that pretty convenient cardboard thing on the bottom. We're just gonna go with it. And I don't really know the best method, so I'm just gonna go around the edges with my frosting. So this makes me kind of sad because it's so much of a smaller center, which means that I know when we go to cut it open, we're not gonna have that huge explosion type of feeling that I wanna have. So I know a lot of people don't like jelly beans, but I am not one of those people. I love jelly beans, especially the Starburst jelly beans. I think they are hands down like the best jelly beans you could ever have. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when I was initially planning on doing this video, I bought 3 bags of jelly beans. And within a few days, 2 of those 3 bags were gone. I ate all of the jelly beans. And I only had this bag left. And I held off until last night. I was really proud of myself and then I just couldn't help myself. I opened the bag of jelly beans, I started eating them. So then this morning I had to run into the grocery store anyway, so I thought, let me just pick up an extra bag of jelly beans just in case we need it. Well then of course I had to open these ones too and taste test these ones as well. And now we have this tiny little cupcake and I'm barely gonna use any of these jelly beans, so now I'm gonna have to eat all of these jelly beans. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right? So yeah, I'm gonna fill this up with some jelly beans. I need to go through now and frost the entire cake, which I've seen people do a lot, but I've personally never tried it myself. Okay, I had to move everything out of the way so I could totally focus on frosting this cupcake. So I'm just gonna go with what I've seen on Instagram videos, YouTube videos, and Reels, and hope that it turns out okay. And obviously our carrot is not very round right now, so I'm gonna try to even that out, make it look more round via the frosting. And I know people do like a crumb coat and then they like finish it off. I don't know the difference, so I'm winging it here. Oh gosh, it's already falling off. It's already falling off. This is okay though. This is all okay. Oh, it's still falling. Okay, that was a lot of frosting down. I'm better with cupcakes, and even that's questionable sometimes. I think I've only made a cake once in my life. I'm pretty sure that was like, I made it with my sisters. It was like one of our parents' birthdays. We were trying to do something nice, so we attempted to make a cake, and I honestly don't remember that working out super well either. So honestly though, this frosting hypes so easy. So when I actually use it on cupcakes, which I will, I think this is gonna be my go-to frosting from now on. It's gonna be amazing. Got like a gap here. I'm gonna fill that gap. I see them do this a lot too, like this back and forth motion. I see people do it. It seems to work out well for them. So I'm gonna embrace this motion. I mean, does it look like a giant cupcake? Does it look like a cake? Does it look like a carrot? How are we feeling at this point? I'm feeling slightly concerned. All right, I filled my piping bag up with more frosting, and I'm gonna go around again because I feel like all it needs is just like another coat of frosting. Because right now, like you can definitely see some of the cake showing through, but if we get it with more frosting, then it should be okay. I actually feel like the bottom, for the most part, is pretty good. It's more just like the top portion of it. So I'm gonna start top. Keep going with my back and forth motion because that seemed to like be the best strategy. Don't have high expectations yet. Okay, this isn't gonna look pretty for a while. Right now it just looks like a big yellow blob to you guys. One, because the color's not showing through. Two, because that's literally all that it is right now. Okay. How do we feel about it now? Because I feel like it's better. Okay, we have our handy dandy green chocolate pieces that are more like awkwardly shaped blobs. But I'm hoping that once we have them sticking out, it'll really bring the carrot together. And hopefully our chocolate doesn't just completely fall apart. Got a little piece, I'm gonna put it in the back over here. Okay, and then we have our awkward like J shape, which I was trying to like we broke it. I was trying to just recreate the little, you know, carrots are weird. They just have the tall little things coming out of it. It's not like a pineapple, you know, where it's more like this shape. And we don't want to be mistaken for a pineapple here. Doesn't just look like weird green things coming out of the top. It looks like a carrot. It does. I'm really trying to convince myself. I'm gonna need you guys to like vote, leave a comment, whatever it is people do these days, and let me know. Does it look like a carrot to you? Does it look like a weird blob? Would you eat this? Would you be concerned for your health? Like, how are we feeling? Where should the last one go? Decisions. Okay, let's do a quick spin. Woo! I think it looks like a carrot. It's not a perfect carrot, and this side goes way deeper than this side. But if we just look at it like this and we ignore the caved in back, we have a carrot. Like, you can't deny it's a carrot. You guys, I was just inspecting my work and I was about to cut my losses and say, you know, we just need to work on it more. But then I remembered I bought scrapers for this specific purpose. These are the things that people use on their cakes. They have different edges, different shapes, different things to get those different kinds of edges that you want. And I think I can do it. So I'm gonna add a little bit more frosting because I noticed some areas were completely bare still. I completely missed it for frosting. And that's just embarrassing. That's a rookie move right there. So I think we're okay. So I'm hoping that this will fill out some of those gaps that we have. I'm so obsessed with this frosting. And I'm gonna try to use my scrapey thingy. Okay, it's slightly challenged because like it's not totally even. I feel like once we're done with this, I'm gonna be a cake pro. I'm just gonna kind of soften these edges. Alright, you guys, I feel like I have made you wait long enough to see if our little carrot actually has the explosion factor that we are hoping for. First, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps other people find my channel, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on next week's cupcake creation. So, let's dig into this, and I will see you guys next week. Bye. Ooh, I felt the jelly beans in there. I'm taking it away, I'm taking it away. Wow. We only got like 2 jelly beans out of it. That was sad. But next time, we're gonna do this again, and I promise, it's gonna be epic.